So everyone is struggling to attain happiness and avoid misfortune. How then does happiness arise? People feel joy when their desires are fulfilled. Within the self-same individual are two opposing inclinations: the original mind that desires goodness and the evil mind that desires wickedness. They are engaged in a fierce battle, striving to accomplish two conflicting purposes. Any being possessing such a contradiction within itself is doomed to perish. Christianity sees this state of destruction as the result of the human fall. Considered from the viewpoint of the intellect, the human fall represents humanity's descent into ignorance. People are composed of two aspects, internal and external, or mind and body. In the same way, there are two types of ignorance: internal ignorance and external ignorance. Humanity, through religion, has followed the path of searching for internal truth, and through science has followed the path of seeking external truth. Religion and science, each in their own spheres, have been the methods of searching for truth in order to conquer ignorance and attain knowledge. Religion and science, setting out with the missions of dispelling the two aspects of human ignorance, have seemed in the course of their development to take positions that were contradictory and irreconcilable. However, for humankind to completely overcome the two aspects of ignorance and fully realize the goodness which the original mind desires, at some point in history there must emerge a new truth which can reconcile religion and science and resolve their problems in an integrated undertaking. What missions must the new truth fulfill? The new expression of truth should be able to reveal the reality and heart of God, His heart of joy at the time of creation, and His heart of striving to save humankind throughout the long course of history. This truth must be able to embrace all historical religions, ideologies, and philosophies, and bring complete unity among them. Unity starts with the unity of mind and body, and the unity of husband and wife. The new truth should guide fallen people to return to their original state. Throughout history, people have anguished over the fundamental questions of human life and the universe without arriving at satisfying answers. This is because no one has understood the root principle by which humanity and the universe were originally created. To approach this topic properly, it is not enough to examine resultant reality. The fundamental question is that of the causal reality. Problems concerning human life and the universe cannot be solved without first understanding the nature of God. How can we know the divine nature of the invisible God? One way to fathom His deity is by observing the universe which He created. In Romans 1:20, everything in the created universe is a substantial manifestation of some quality of the Creator's invisible divine nature. Just as we can come to know the character of an artist through his works, so we can understand the nature of God by observing the diverse things of creation. Let us begin by pointing out the common elements which are found universally throughout the natural world. Every entity possesses dual characteristics of yang and yin, which is positive and negative. and comes into existence only when these characteristics have formed reciprocal relationships, both within the entity and between it and other entities. For instance, atoms display either a positive or a negative valence. Plants propagate by means of stamen and pistil, and animals multiply and maintain their species through the relationship between male and females. Finally, human beings are either a man or a woman. However, there is another more fundamental pair of dual characteristics in reciprocal relationship. Every entity possesses both an outer form and an inner quality. The visible outer form resembles the invisible inner quality. The inner quality is called the internal nature, and the outer form or shape is called external form. Since internal nature and external form refer to corresponding inner and outer aspects of the same entity, the external form may also be understood as a second internal nature. Therefore, the internal nature and external form together constitute dual characteristics. Let us take human beings as an example. A human being is composed of an outer form, the body, and an inner quality, the mind. Mind is the internal nature and body is the external form. Mind and body are two correlative aspects of a human being. Hence the body may be understood as a second mind. Together, they constitute the dual characteristics of a human being. Similarly, all beings exist through the reciprocal relationships between the dual characteristics of internal nature and external form. The first cause must also possess the dual characteristics of internal nature and external form, which stand in the position of subject partner to the internal natures and external forms of all beings. We call this first cause of the universe God, and we call God's internal nature and external form the original internal nature and original external form. It is only natural to surmise that God, the first cause of all things, also exists based on the reciprocal relationship between his dual characteristics of yang and yin. What is the relationship between the dual characteristics of internal nature and external form and the dual characteristics of yang and yin? God's original internal nature and original external form each contain the mutual relationship of original yang and original yin. Therefore, original yang and original yin are attributes of original internal nature and original external form. God is the subject in whom the dual characteristics of original internal nature and original external form are in harmony. At the same time, God is the harmonious union of masculinity and femininity, which manifest the qualities of original internal nature and original external form respectively. In relation to the universe, God is the subject partner having the qualities of internal nature and masculinity. In recognition of God's position as the internal and masculine subject partner, we call him our Father. God is the invisible subject partner, and the universe as a whole is a substantial object partner to God. In accordance with the principle of creation, God's dual characteristics manifest itself symbolically or in image as individual embodiments of truth, which constitute the universe. Since individual embodiments of truth are all substantial object partners to God, resembling his original internal nature and original external form, they each possess within themselves both internal nature and external form, and likewise both yang and yin. God, the creator of all things, is the absolute reality, eternal, self-existent, and transcendent of time and space. The fundamental energy of God's being is also eternal, self-existent, and absolute. It is the origin of all energies and forces that allow created beings to exist. We call this fundamental energy universal prime energy. Through the agency of universal prime energy, the subject and object elements of every entity form a common base and enter into interaction. This interaction in turn generates all the forces the entity needs to exist, multiply, and act. The interaction generating these forces through this process is called give and take action. The process in which out of God, the origin, two entities are separately manifested and reunited in oneness is called origin, division, union action. Any of the four positions resulting from the origin, division, union action, namely the origin, subject partner, and object partner, and the union, may assume the position of subject partner and engage the other three as its object partners, forming a communion of three object partners. When each of the four then acts as the subject partner and enters into give and take with the other three, they fulfill the three object purpose. When the origin, the subject partner, and object partner projected from the origin and the union all fulfill the three object purpose, the four position foundation is established. This foundation is 1. Root of the principle of three stages, because it involves three stages of God, husband and wife, and children. 2. The root of the number 12, because each of the four takes on three object partners, 12 object partners are created. 3. Fundamental foundation of goodness and realization of God's purpose of creation. 4. Fundamental foundation for the life of all beings, providing all the forces necessary for their existence. The four position foundation is God's eternal purpose of creation. The purpose of creation. It is recorded in the Bible, Genesis 1:4-31, that after God created each day of creation, He saw that it was good. This suggests that God wanted His creations to be object partners embodying goodness, that He might take delight in them. God created human beings as the final step in creating the universe. He created them in His image, in the likeness of His internal nature and external form, and gave them sensibility to all feelings and emotions. After their creation, God blessed Adam and Eve to be fruitful, multiply, and have dominion over the creation. Genesis 1:28. Had Adam and Eve obeyed these three blessings and built the kingdom of heaven, there is no doubt that God would have felt the greatest joy as His sons and daughters rejoiced in the world of His ideal. Hence, the ultimate purpose of the universe, with human beings at its center, is to return joy to God. All entities have dual purposes. Every entity has dual centers of movement, one of internal nature and another of external form. These centers pursue corresponding purposes, for the sake of the whole and for the sake of of the individual, whose relationship is the same as that between internal nature and external form. In God's ideal, there cannot be any individual purpose which does not support the whole purpose, nor can there be any whole purpose that does not guarantee the interests of the individual. The infinite variety of beings in the universe form one vast organic body interwoven by these dual purposes. Joy is not produced by an individual alone. Joy arises when we have an object partner, whether intangible or substantial, in which our internal nature and external form are reflected and developed. Our object partner stimulates us and helps us to feel our own internal nature and external form. God feels the fullness of joy when he is stimulated by his substantial object partners to feel his original internal nature and original external form through them. When the kingdom of heaven is realized through the fulfillment of the three great blessings and the establishment of the four-position foundation, it becomes the good object partner that gives joy to God. The key to God's first blessing is the perfection of individual character. An individual's mind and body are discrete projections and object partners of God's dual characteristics. In order for an individual to perfect his character, he must form an individual four-position foundation whereby his mind and body become one through give and take action with God as their center. In fulfilling God's second blessing, individually perfected Adam and Eve should construct a God-centered family four-position foundation by joining in loving oneness as husband and wife and raising children. God's third blessing means the perfection of a human being's dominion over the natural world. For this, a God-centered four-position foundation of dominion must be established through human beings and natural world becoming completely one creation. Had God's purpose of creation been realized in this way, an ideal world without even a trace of sin would have been established on the earth. We call this world the kingdom of heaven on earth. In the kingdom of heaven, God's direction will be conveyed to all his children through the true parents of humankind, guiding everyone to live as one. Section 4. The original value. The original value of an entity is determined when it participates as an object partner in a God-centered four-position foundation by relating with a person as its subject partner. Since the center of this four-position foundation is God, it is God who sets the standard for its value. And since God is absolute, the original value of an object partner determined in relation to this standard must also be absolute. The process of the creation of the universe and its growing period. The universe did not suddenly spring forth complete. In fact, its origin and development took an enormous length of time. The biblical period of 6 days for the completion of the universe is not to be reckoned by the number of literal sunrises and sunsets. It symbolizes 6 ordered periods of time in the creation process. When the first day of creation is completed, the Bible states, "There was evening and there was morning one day." One would think that the arrival of the morning after the passage of an evening and a night would be reckoned as the second day. Yet it is referred to as the first day. The Bible states one day to show that a created being must pass through a growing period, symbolized by the night, before it reaches perfection in the morning. Then, as it greets this new morning, it can step forward and realize its ideal of creation. All creation reach perfection by passing through three ordered stages of growth: the formation stage, the growth stage, and the completion stage. Human beings could not fulfill the purpose of creation because they fell without completing the three stages of the growing period. Hence, in their renewed efforts to realize their purpose, human beings must pass through these three stages. The first human ancestors fell at the top of the growth stage. When created beings are in the growing period, God has regard only for the fruits of their growth, which are based on the principle. In this way, He governs all things indirectly. We call this growing period the realm of God's indirect dominion, or the realm of dominion based on accomplishments through the principle. All things reach perfection after passing through the growing period by virtue of the autonomy and governance given by God's principle. Human beings, however, pass through the growing period and reach perfection by fulfilling their own portion of responsibility, in addition to the guidance provided by the principle. God endowed human beings with a portion of responsibility for the following reason. By fulfilling their given portion of responsibility, with which even God does not interfere, human beings are meant to inherit the creative nature of God and participate in God's great work of creation. God intends human beings to earn ownership and become worthy to rule over the creation as creators in their own right, just as God governs over them as their creator. This is the principal difference between human beings and the rest of creation. Human beings abide in the realm of direct dominion when, as subject and object partners, they unite in the love of God to form a four-position foundation and become one in heart with God. In this realm, they freely and fully share love and beauty according to the will of the subject partner, thus realizing the purpose of goodness. Hence, the realm of direct dominion is the realm of perfection. The incorporeal world and the corporeal world whose center is human beings. The universe was created after the pattern of a human being who is in the image of God's dual characteristics. Therefore, corresponding to the human mind and body, the universe consists of the incorporeal world and the corporeal world, both of which are real and substantial. The two worlds together form the cosmos. When we shed our physical bodies, we enter the incorporeal world as spirits and live there for eternity. God created human beings to be the rulers of the universe, mediator and center of harmony of the cosmos, and encapsulation in a substantial form of the essence of everything in the cosmos. The physical self consists of the dual characteristics of the physical mind and the physical body. Our spirit self consists of the dual characteristics of spirit mind and spirit body. The spirit can grow and reach perfection only while it abides in the body. The spirit becomes good only through the redemption of sins granted during earthly life. It is not God who decides whether a person's spirit enters heaven or hell upon his death. It is decided by the Spirit himself.